In the shadows and flames, primals will fall, and from the blood and ash, new gods will rise. Poppy was never meant to awaken, and consequences are devastating, stirring ancient powers from their slumber, transforming Castile and Kirin in ways the fates couldn't foresee. The great conspirator has returned to stop the primal of death. The gods have awakened, harboring blood-soaked secrets, and every choice can undo everything. The Primal of Blood and Bone, perfect for fans of Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros. Available September 23rd. Pre-order today.
Saks Off 5th is your secret to fashion's most wanted deals at up to 70% off. On the hunt for designer steals that'll turn heads and leave a trail of envy? Uncover Gucci, Valentino, Versace, Stuart Weitzman, and more, with new arrivals dropping weekly at prices too good to stay confidential. Luxe layers, statement boots, and tailored essentials from Saks Off 5th will put your wardrobe on the most wanted list. Head to SaksOff5th.com or a Saks Off 5th store near you for a style lineup you won't want to miss.
I'm Scott Hansen, host of NFL Red Zone. Lowe's knows Sundays are for football. That's why we're here to help you get your next DIY project done, even when the clock isn't on your side. Whether that's a new Filtrete filter or Bosch and Cobalt power tools, Lowe's has everything you need to feel like the MVP of DIY. So get it done and earn your Sunday. Shop now, in-store and online. Lowe's, official partner of the NFL.
Delete Me makes it quick, easy, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. I am a Delete Me user, and honestly, they have given me peace of mind during some very tough situations. It's super easy right now, easier than ever, to find personal info about people online. Your address might be floating out there, your phone number, your family members' names. It's all hanging out on the internet. It can have actual consequences in the real world. It makes everyone vulnerable. More and more online partisans and nefarious actors, they find the data. They use it. You can see people use it. They target political rivals now. It's crazy. Even people, if you're outspoken online, people can track down your info and start making your life harder for it. There's all kinds of stuff. All kinds of reasons you don't want your data just floating out there. With Delete Me, you can protect your personal privacy, the privacy of your business, protect them from doxing attacks. You don't want this sensitive information be exploited. Get ahead of it with Delete Me. The New York Times Wirecutter has named Delete Me their top pick for data removal services. I'm someone who's lived very publicly for many years. I'm somebody who has really invited people in. I will tell you, especially having a kid now, there's been a few situations where some boundaries have been crossed where I've said, whoa, I don't have privacy. One of the costs of my career was I just gave away all my privacy for years and felt like it didn't matter. It does matter. Delete Me helped claw back some of that privacy, helped my family feel safe. And I can't thank them enough. And this is not an ad. This is genuine from the gut. Really, for real, Delete Me has had my back, and it's an amazing service. They set the bar, and they set it really high. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private. Sign up for Delete Me. Now at a special discount for our listeners. Get 20% off your Delete Me plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Use the promo code beautiful at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is go to joindeleteme.com/beautiful. Enter the code beautiful at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/beautiful, code beautiful. Hello to everybody out there who volunteers, because it's a great thing to do for your community and yourself and represents something good. You should really think about doing it. It's Beautiful Anonymous. 1 hour, one phone call, no names, no holds barred.
I'd rather go one-on-one. I think it'll be more fun, and I'll get to know you and you'll get to know me.
Hi everybody, Chris Gethard here, and not everybody loves a long intro, and I'll tell you what, this week has a long intro. If you skip about 12 minutes ahead, that'll put you towards the end of it. Thanks so much. Enjoy the call. Hi everybody, it's Chris Gethard. Welcome to Beautiful Anonymous. As I've been saying lately, the show where we look at the human condition, one anonymous phone call at a time. So many things to say this week. I do want to say one thing we've realized. First of all, the beautifulanonymous.com is where you can go and get extra time with each caller every single week. The I bring it up right out of the gate because the stuff behind the paywall this week is great. It's great. I think it's all really great. And this week in particular, the caller just throws so much more in, and it's beautiful. And I forget if it was in the call or the paywall. I think it's the paywall content where we realize so many, like the Beautiful Anonymous fan base for a long time, it was like, oh, well, a lot of it's women and not like young hipster women, even though this is a hipstery comic guy. It's women who have jobs and lives and careers and families already. And we started to realize it's just women who have become witches in the 2010s and 2020s. So many of our callers are people who now identify as witches. And I love it. Love being a witch-focused or witch-adjacent podcast. Love it so much. I go to the Lunar Fair in New Jersey all the time. Witches are the best. Anyway, weird way to start. You can sign up for extra content at beautifulanonymous.com. Have to thank everybody. The window for early viewing of my special, A Father and the Son, it's been open for a while now. The special will be on YouTube. We're doing a live premiere on YouTube. I'll be there. That's on the night of the 23rd. And I think it's a good special. A lot of it's sorting out what it was like for me to become a parent a little bit later than most people do. And not just how I changed, but also how it just made me reconsider my own dad in so many ways. And who he is and why he made choices he made. And he's a really, really good guy who I was at times very confused by growing up. I think all of us are at some point confused by our dads. And I think I needed to get this special out to be able to move on, certainly as an artist and honestly probably as a guy, probably just as a person. And I hope you come hang out at that live YouTube viewing premiere thing. And if you want to see it even earlier than that, you can still go buy the special, watch it days before everybody else gets access to it. And thanks to everybody who's been supporting it. It's really cool of you. Also need to let you know a couple things. If you're in the New York area, that show at UCB, which is my variety show where I bring all sorts of artists to the front, and it's such a great show. Our house band, Joy on Fire, is incredible. This month we got Josh Gondelman, Brittany Carney. Nico Cataneo is a young comic who is trying a bit that sounds like one of the most insane things I've ever seen. And we got Hamburger. We got Alonzo Hamburger Jones, who's an old school Def Jam comic, and I would argue probably one of the original alt comics in an era that pre-existed alternative comedy. And on top of it, need to remind you, in October, we got the Beautiful Anonymous taping of episode 500. We're hitting 500 episodes, which is just so cool to me that I, a generally introverted person, have been able to have 500 of the most meaningful conversations that anybody's ever been able to have. What an absolute honor to have stumbled into this gig and to have had it last this long, that I've been able to have 500 conversations that most people, I think, would point to and say any given one of those is the best conversation somebody might have in their life. And I've been able to do it 500 times because of you and your support. We're going to celebrate it in New Jersey, very small town of Atlantic Highlands, Smodcastle Cinemas, which is owned by Kevin Smith. It's going to be such a great time. Come on out to the live taping. And I should be announcing pretty soon. We just got the design for the episode 500 t-shirt. And we're probably going to just sell those out at the event. Any leftover that we have, we'll probably sell online. But man, I think people are going to like them. And we like to do little things once in a while. Also, Andrea and I have been doing some soul searching, talking. I want to announce the P.O. Box is now open. If you want to submit something for Beautiful Anonymous, the magazine, issue 2, that P.O. Box, you can send it to me, Chris Gethard. P.O. Box is P.O. Box 972, New Vernon, New Jersey, 07976. The first issue of that magazine came out so great, it exceeded expectations. Mailing it out was a massive pain in my ass that I don't wish to revisit, but honestly, the magazine was such a good joyous experience that I will revisit it and maybe figure out some infrastructure to make it slightly easier this coming year. But if you want to submit something for publication in the next issue of Beautiful Anonymous magazine, P.O. Box 972, New Vernon, New Jersey, 07976. Just send it to my name. The P.O. Box is in my name, not the podcast's name. And I can't wait to see what kind of nonsense shows up in the mail this year. And thanks to everybody who wants to participate. This week's episode, you're going to quickly hear, it's one of my favorite ones ever, honestly. And I know I say that a lot. It's always true every time I say it. But this time, not only is it about somebody who has a unique job, it's somebody who does a unique job, but it's something that I am heavily invested in. Our caller is currently studying to be a paramedic, is currently a member of both paid and volunteer firefighter and first aid squads. I drive, volunteer for a first aid squad. It has thoroughly changed my life, my perspective. I think that especially in times when the world seems very strange and unpredictable and grim in a way that I don't know that we've seen in my lifetime, especially in America, a little bit unmoored. I mean, we've got political assassinations going on. I had a conversation with a friend of mine this week, really smart friend, and we were both kind of saying, like, you're starting to see people say that if we're having enough political violence, you start to connect the dots of Charlie Kirk and the lawmakers in Minnesota and January 6th and Charlottesville. And there's people starting to go, are we really approaching some sort of Civil War-esque point? And my friend Mike is very smart. He started to point out, well, there's tanks on the streets and there's troops being deployed against citizens. And it's less a civil war. And I think what America's headed towards probably looks a little bit more like the Troubles of Ireland, the Northern Ireland Troubles, which my grandfather, who lived a couple blocks away from me, he was from Northern Ireland. The Good Friday Agreement was signed in 1998. I was a senior in high school. I grew up with a childhood where I was extraordinarily aware of the troubles in Northern Ireland and the political violence in Ireland. And when Mike pointed out that things are starting to look in 2025 America a lot like what they looked like in the 70s, 80s, and 90s in Ireland, I went, oh, my goodness, my grandfather fled that. My grandfather fled that. And he's not wrong. And it's a grim thought. It's a grim thought. But that being said, the reason I brought it up is callers like today's caller. I'm not trying to be melodramatic or put too much pressure on the caller, but man, they make me believe in the promise of America, because people who want to help other people remind me of the promise of this place, especially when it's on a volunteer level, especially when it's in small towns and rural areas, especially when you dedicate your life to the service of others. I go, right, there is something to humanity connecting. There is something to this promise of neighbors helping neighbors, of the small town American dream. There is something to it. And I really want to go to bat on this one and say that if you live in a town that has a volunteer first aid squad or a volunteer firefighter squad, oftentimes those things go hand in hand. Think about volunteering. You probably can get involved with just a little bit of investment. When I started driving, I had to go get CPR certified, which took 1 day. And then I took a few driving lessons from one of the ambulance drivers in town. And they needed me. And I've been doing it for over 4 years now. And I'm telling you, there's a way you can get involved. And maybe you can go to EMT school and become an EMT. Maybe you can go to firefighting school and become a firefighter. But when I tell you it will change your life for the better, I'm not kidding. It will put you in touch with your neighbors, with your community. You will see people who are vulnerable. You will be able to help people in moments of need. The caller talks in beautiful fashion in this call about what it's like to go into someone's home, to realize you're not just helping a person. While you're there, you're looking at the pictures on the wall of their family vacation. You're looking at pictures of their kids at different stages growing up. You're remembering you're not living in isolation. You're not living with life dictated by an algorithm. You do not have to live a life completely stressed out by the dings going off in your pocket, instructing you on what to feel mad about or sad about. That you can be a part of a community, but you have to walk out the front door, sign up, and opt into that community. It's a beautiful thing. It's a life-changing thing. I wish that I had the time to go to school and become a full EMT right now. Unfortunately, in my area, the only classes I can find, you have to go Tuesday night, Thursday night, and all day Saturday. And I got a 6-year-old kid and 4 full-time jobs, and I wish I could invest more. But I'm telling you, every time a volunteer first aid squad or a volunteer first firefighting squad, every time one of them closes down, it's like pulling out just a little, it's like tugging on the string of the social safety net. And if you live in a town that has volunteer first responder services, me personally, I'm telling you, go sign up. Find a way to help. You will never regret it. And you will feel just slightly more released from the panic and the fear of these troubling times. Because you'll be given back in a way that's very, very ground level. Eye to eye, neighbor to neighbor. Anyway, that's my pitch. I think you're going to love this call. And, you know, I plug it all the time, but beautifulanonymous.com, you can sign up to hear more with this caller, and you'll hear at the end, there's some cliffhangers. We hash out some of it, not all of it. When we get behind the paywall later, it's a great week to sign up. Thanks so much, everybody. Enjoy it.
Thank you for calling Beautiful Anonymous. A beeping noise will indicate when you are on the show with the host.
Hello?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I was out too late in New York City last night like a young person, so I'm suffering today. But that's okay.
I totally understand. I was up late with my husband who worked night shift last night, and we played video games all night. So
I love that.
I'm in the same boat.
I saw some friends in a show, and a few really old friends were in the audience, and I was talking with them afterwards, and then was like, oh, I got to go because if I miss the train, the last train, I won't be able to get home until like 2:30 a.m. And I wound up missing the train by 90 seconds, without exaggeration, about 90 seconds. I jumped in a cab. At first, I missed a cab. I said, that might be me getting home at 2:30 a.m. instead of like 1 a.m., which is still too late for me. But yeah, I missed that train.
Yeah.
Didn't get home till 2:30 a.m. What am I, in my 30s? My 20s? I'm 45 years old. Staying up till 2:30 a.m.?
I don't, look, unless I'm at work, I try not to stay up that late anymore, and I'm in my 20s.
Yeah, you can still do it without like back pain and indigestion. Anyway, how are you?
I'm doing all right. First time caller, long time listener.
Thanks so much for calling.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for listening.
We can talk about a whole bunch of things. I'm a firefighter EMT. And I'm in medic school trying to get my degree as well, but I've also done a whole lot of other stuff.
I love it. I mean, we can start there. Thank you so much for doing it.
I love it. I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it.
Are you?
And then with today being the day after the 24th anniversary of 9/11, it's a lot.
Yeah, we are recording this on 9/12, so a lot to think about. Are you volunteer or paid?
I'm both.
You're both. The rare both.
So I live in a rural area of a southern state. And so my department that's really close to my house, I volunteer at Fire Only. And then I drive 20 minutes to a tourist area, and that's where I'm a firefighter EMT.
You've been listening well. You've probably picked up on this. I volunteer drive for an ambulance for a first aid squad.
Yes.
In my town. Also,
yes.
My town is very interesting because New Jersey is generally regarded as suburban, and I live in the first stretch where it actually starts to get really rural, which a lot of people in New Jersey don't think about how much of it is rural. And I know that it must be very interesting for you because on a fundamental level, when you're in the touristy area versus the rural area, there's probably some things that are universal, slips and falls, a lot of helping elderly people. There are also definitely some calls that you only get in one area versus another. And I know this from experience.
One of the best departments I ever worked at, it was EMS only at the time. Now they've since merged, but it was on the beach strand. And in the summertime, it was a lot of near drownings, almost drownings, people calling 911 because somebody was on a surfboard and they were worried about them and there was nothing wrong. And the crazy fish hooking feet and fingers. And and then in the touristy town, it's honestly a lot of motor vehicle collisions. I always joke that the people come down here from up north, nothing against the Yankees, but they see the beach and their brain cells just disappear and they forget how to drive.
Yeah. I also think coming from New Jersey, I would in many ways argue, I'm about to say something insane about the Northeast, but our Northeast listeners will agree with me and everyone else will be like, this is why you guys are assholes. I actually do think we're probably the best drivers in the Northeast. But the problem is when you place us in other areas where people don't know how to drive, then yeah, we do hit them with our cars, which I understand is there's no logical sense to what I just said. But everyone who lives from Washington, D.C. up to Boston just nodded their heads in agreement.
So I have had the unique experience of driving in every state on the East Coast, Tennessee, all the way West Virginia, through Kentucky, Oklahoma, and everything south all the way back around to where I live. And then I've also driven in California and Nevada. And out of all the states I've driven in, the worst drivers I've ever experienced were in Florida when you get around Tampa.
Wow. I wonder what exactly it is about that demographic that makes that the worst.
I think it's a melting pot of tourists, locals, and snowbirds, I think. And then you have that really big retirement community, the villages. And so you have a lot of senior drivers. And I think it's that weird combination of all of these people together, and nobody understands each other's driving style.
I think that's such a good way to put it. And it's not, I don't get the sense that you're even saying, well, all the retirees are causing a problem. It's like, no. It's when you have multiple different cultures of people with different life priorities driving in different ways on the same roads, coexisting. Jersey,
it's absolute pandemonium.
Jersey has a reputation for really bad drivers, but what I will say about us in our favor is there is often lunatic behavior on New Jersey highways, but we are quick and we are decisive about it. There's no wavering.
Yes.
There is no, what's this person doing? I can't tell. It's, oh, that person did something insane. I'm glad we're all okay. I didn't even have a chance to get scared because it's already done. Jersey's good about that.
I had the privilege of being taught to drive by my grandfather, who's from Pittsburgh originally, and that's where he learned to drive.
That's a tough town to drive in.
And I think that's what helped me being able to drive an ambulance, is being raised and taught to drive and to make those quick decisions right here, right now. It put me at an advantage.
I love that. Pittsburgh's all hills and bridges, too.
Yes. which, I mean, I live in flatland, but I love going to the mountains and driving. Actually, Pittsburgh is one of my favorite places to drive, as crazy as it sounds. But the tunnels, the bridges, the grid system, oh my goodness, streets that make sense.
Mm-hmm. Now, can I ask you, my understanding is that you mentioned that you volunteer with a fire department in a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
It came to my attention a few years ago. Volunteer fire departments are a much bigger part of the lifeblood of rural America than I think a lot of non-rural America understands. True or false?
Very true. There is a county nearby that does not have a single paid fire department. It is all 100% volunteer. The only thing that is paid is EMS.
And what I didn't realize is that a farm, especially a farm that's growing crops, in average years, let alone in years where there's a drought, if a fire goes up in those crops, there's all sorts of techniques that happen to contain that fire, save those crops, stop it from spreading to neighboring farms, and that our actual ability to grow food in America, a lot of it comes down to volunteers who have a lot of dedication and specialized training on how to make sure, all right, if the corn goes up, we're going to make sure we limit the amount we lose, and we're going to make sure this doesn't spread all over the area.
Absolutely. A lot of the firefighting techniques that they use in those fires, they're called brush fires, even though it's a farm, we take from wildland firefighting. So we'll do our cuts, we'll burn back. Thankfully, I haven't had to experience that myself, but I've been trained on the techniques.
Now, a thing I can speak to, shared personal experience. True or false? When you are on an ambulance, you oftentimes see, first of all, a lot of it is helping elderly people. A lot of it is a service for seniors. But the parts of it that aren't that, some of it can be really jarring in a way that's some of the more disturbing things you've ever seen. Some of them can be some of the funniest things you've ever encountered, and weirdly in a way that might sound callous, but I think that you and I might both share an opinion. Sometimes those are the same. Sometimes the really, really bizarre, messed up situations are also the funniest ones that you're like telling a story about forever in your squad house break room. True or false?
Yes, very true. It reminds me, I hate when people ask you what's the worst thing you've seen, but I have a funny story that I tell before I educate people, like, hey, you probably shouldn't ask this to first responders because it causes us to relive those moments, and we struggle with PTSD anyway. You probably shouldn't answer this question. But when I was working at the beach department, we had some ladies. One was your stereotypical old hippie. Like, you could tell that she's been smoking weed since Woodstock. And she brought her two friends. They rented out this beach house. They came from the big city, and they were going to vacation. And they decided, the two ladies who had never done anything in their entire lives, probably never got drunk, very straight-laced, decided that they were going to try edibles for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And their experienced friend told them, hey, just take a small corner of this brownie. They're really strong. And what do? They cut ginormous sized brownies out, fresh out of the oven, put the ice cream on it. And we got called out there because they were not handling it very well. And so we get there, and my partner is taking care of one lady. I'm taking care of the other. We call for another ambulance for backup because we're going to have two patients. And then the lady I'm taking care of starts having a seizure. So my paramedic starts taking care of her, and I take care of the lady my partner was taking care of. And that lady looks at me, turns green in the face, and exorcist vomits everywhere. All over me, our monitor, the table, the floor, just vomit everywhere. It was something out of a horror movie. And then the next
much
EMS
cleanup
agency shows up. They open the door right at the end of this exorcist vomit, and the look on their faces was, "Why did you call us for this?" Oh, that look on the other crew's face was absolutely priceless, and that lives rent free in my head when I'm having a bad day.
I can also tell you that one thing that's actually a weird ritual with the ambulance, that I don't know if it's a ritual everywhere, but for me it's a ritual. After you drop a patient off, you have to wipe down everything that was touched by anyone. Everything needs to be sanitized. And you wind up in some situations like that where you're like, "Ooh, this is going to take forever," because this is not just that you got thrown up on, and everyone listening to such you got thrown up all over. It's not like, "Oh man, once this thing is over, I'm going to go like ditch these clothes and go take a hot shower." No, you're spending a long time getting that vomit out of every crevice in between every cushion on that rig. That's a long night. That vomit experience is not just the vomit. There's a whole aftermath to that.
And then we had a 45-minute transport to the hospital on top of it.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we're talking in the middle of COVID. So we had finally relaxed the part where we weren't wearing gowns or Tyvek suits, but we were still wearing N95 and goggles. And
okay.
I mean, we wear gloves anyway, but, it was hot, it was sticky, and now I've got to drive this ambulance 45 minutes to the hospital to drop this patient off to the poor nurses. And I ended up stealing a pair of psych scrubs to drive back.
I bet you did. We could go story for story for a little while if you want. I can tell you one. I had one where one of my favorites ever. I once got called. I was volunteering, and on my night, there was a guy and I live in a real sleepy little rural stretch of Jersey, and we had a guy who he got real messed up on something. I'm guessing an amphetamine of some sort based on his behavior. And he stole a car and tore ass up the highway. So he's already got state troopers chasing him. He gets off at the exit in my area, runs into a restaurant near the highway exit, and he's like, "Give me all the money." And they literally are just like, "Get the fuck out of here." And he turns around and runs out. Jumps back in the car, and he gets on this little 2-lane highway that runs through my town, and he is apparently cutting cars off and brake checking them, and he wound up flipping the car onto the front lawn of a local church that had a hill. So I got called. I was still I think in my first year of driving. We got up there. This kid told the cops that he had 2 accomplices that took off into the woods. So the county is there with K-9 units. The county is there with cops flying drones over the area. There's multiple fire trucks, county cops, local cops, state cops. This 2-lane highway shut down in both directions. Everything's flashing. They tell me I got to back the rig up past about a dozen first responder vehicles with their lights on. It's the first time I've seen a pancaked car, which was terrifying. I just assumed I was about to see a dead body. My crew chief goes, "No." The weird thing about car accidents is when someone's completely messed up on booze or drugs, they actually have a higher survival rate.
Because they ragdoll.
Because their nervous system doesn't react. They don't get tense, so they ragdoll, like you said. So the kid is fine. He has a cut on his knee. The car is honestly smaller than the desk I'm sitting at right now. It has been accordioned. I can't believe this guy's fine. They it quickly becomes apparent he just made up these two accomplices just to fuck with the cops in a way where I was like, oh, this is getting funny. Like, these are not real. They're trying to make him physically describe the accomplices. And he's like, well, the one guy has no shirt on and he's got a mullet and he's only got one shoe on. And I'm like, there's no way he's just fucking with the cops. And he has like 40 cops roaming the woods. They put him on my rig and he's just like kind of rambling in this drug-induced haze. There's cops on the rig with him. He's handcuffed to the gurney on both sides. First time I had seen that. I've seen it again since. I'm like, this is nuts. I was watching Great British Bake Off like 20 minutes ago. I'm a volunteer. I'm just like a guy with a podcast and a kid. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then finally, whatever happened with the drugs, like the clouds just kind of lifted and he gets really quiet and he just goes, whoa. And his voice was real different. Like it had been all hopped up on something. And then all of a sudden you could see whatever adrenaline rush and drug combination was going on just kind of lifted. And he goes, whoa. And he'd been rambling. And when he said, whoa, everybody got quiet and leaned in to listen. And he just goes, I could have fucking died back there, man. And we were all like, oh, shut the fuck. Like, but I think back to it and it was so funny. It was just so funny.
Yeah.
We had
that's one of those moments of what did I sign up for?
Yeah, I had a man my first.
I was not expecting to be on an episode of Live PD tonight. What is this?
So many episodes, basically so many episodes of Cops that I wound up in. The first night, I shadowed another driver for a while, and my first night where I was the driver, I had a call at 2:30 in the morning. That was a man who fell in a ditch, and he was like a 25, 26-year-old guy, like a bro-y guy, but middle of nowhere. And I'm telling you, I live in a town, there's no streetlights, and he's just in a ditch at 2:30 in the morning in the middle of nowhere. No car around, no vehicle. And we're all going, how'd you wind up in the ditch? And he's like, I was trying to walk home. And we're like, but your ID, the ID that said, his ID said what town he lived in. I'm not going to say what town it is because we're right on the edge of HIPAA laws here. And my crew chief is like, you were walking from town A to town B. He's like, yeah. She's like, well, there's a train that goes directly from town A to town B. Why didn't you take the train? Oh, I missed the train, so I decided to walk. But it'll take you like 6 hours to walk. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that. Why didn't you call a friend to pick you up? None of my friends. I don't really have relationships like that. Why didn't you call an Uber? I don't have it on my phone. Why didn't you download Uber? I'm not getting reception. But you do have reception because you called us. When you fell in the ditch, you called us. So you had reception. And then he's just staring us down. And it's like, how did this motherfucker wind up in this ditch in the middle of nowhere at 2:30 in the morning? He would not tell us. And he knew. He had a smirk on his face of like, yeah, there's a story here. You'll never know the story. And I just still think about the man in the ditch.
Kill me.
Yeah. I love it. Let's pause there. I'll tell you that I still wonder about the ditch guy. And I got the best thing about the EMT squad is it probably extended my stand-up career by a solid 3 to 5 years. Because it gives me so many stories. Anyway, we'll be right back. I sleep hot. My wife, Hallie, does not. It's not great. It's not great being the sweaty guy and feeling like, your partner in the bed with you wants to keep distance. Guess what? Bowl and Branch's sheets have helped solve this problem for me. They're cool, they're crisp, they're breathable. I don't sleep as hot. I have cooler comfort at night because of these sheets. My wife and I get to cuddle more because of Bowl and Branch. Thank you to our sponsors, Bowl and Branch, for allowing my wife and I to get back to a place of physical comfort and touch when we cuddle at night. That's an endorsement right there. Bowl and Branch's Percale sheets are made free from toxins with the finest 100% organic cotton. They're made ultra crisp with a special cooling weave so you never sleep hot again. They come with a 30-night worry-free guarantee, and they're ethically crafted by expert artisans that earn fair wages, which is very important and super cool. I've got the waffle blanket too. The waffle blanket is honestly, a marvel of modern engineering. In the summer, it's a light blanket. In winter, it keeps me totally warm. I don't totally understand how it can do both, but it is rad, and I like it. And the sheets are just absolutely no joke. We're getting, we just got through a New Jersey August, which can be brutal. Those sheets were lifesavers. And as we approach the winter, I can already tell they're going to remain on the bed and be my favorite sheets. They're great. It's legitimately great stuff. Feel the difference an extraordinary night's sleep can make with Boll and Branch. Get 15% off plus free shipping on your first set of sheets at bollandbranch.com/beautiful. That's Boll and Branch. BOLLANDBRANCH.com/beautiful. You'll save 15% and unlock free shipping. Exclusions apply. Do you know the secret to businesses that are scaling faster than ever? They're using Upwork to tap into a diverse pool of skilled freelancers across various industries. I'm out here and I have all these jobs, and that effectively means I'm running my own business. And I'll tell you, Upwork is the type of thing that you sit here going, man, they are making it easier to get more done in a quicker, more efficient fashion, because they're out here crushing it and helping people keep their small businesses not just up and running, but thriving and growing. It's awesome. Kudos to Upwork. With more than 2 decades of experience with a simple and ambitious goal, Upwork is out here pioneering a better way of working. Companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done, find more flexibility in the way they staff key projects and initiatives by accessing a global marketplace filled with top talent in IT, web development, AI, design, admin support, marketing, and more. It's super easy. You post a job on Upwork. There's no cost to join. You can register, browse freelancer profiles, get help drafting a job post, book a consultation, and then from there you start connecting with freelancers, and they get you. You can easily hire them. Takes your business to the next level. You post a job today, you hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com. Thanks to all of our advertisers. Now, let's get back to the phone call. He had a smirk on his face of like, yeah, there's a story here. You'll never know the story. And I just still think about the man in the ditch.
Kill me.
Yeah. I love it.
So I became an EMT in the beginning of 2018. And without giving too much away about where I live, I mean, if people follow hurricanes, they're going to figure it out. But there was a really big hurricane not 6 months later. And I was a volunteer. I wasn't even paid. Well, I had a part-time paid job. I forgot about that. And an even more rural part. But it was, I ended up spending 2.5 weeks at the fire station because of the devastation that happened.
Wow.
You know, we were told, hey, you might be here for 2 to 3 nights. And I was like, okay. So I packed, an overnight bag with a couple changes of clothes, personal snacks that I like. And I mean, I was a baby EMT, baby firefighter. I did not know what to expect because I was used to the civilian side of hurricanes. We buy out all the milk and the bread and that's it. And we have a party. And the hurricane hit. And then the next day we had the National Guard showing up and staying with us. And a couple days later, we had firefighters and EMTs from all over the country with us. And seeing the town that I half grew up in underwater was devastating on so many different levels because you're looking like, oh, that's so-and-so's restaurant. The water's almost to the roof now. That's the highway, but we have boats going across the highway to rescue people from the trailer park behind these businesses. We got to commandeer somebody's little John boat to go do rescues, which was pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty cool.
It's really cool, and also so head spinning, so crazy.
Yeah. We had the Coast Guard, or not the Coast Guard, the National Guards high water truck, and it was 2 or 3 in the morning, and we were doing a run to the shelter, which was the local middle school. And we were plowing through the water, and the water was coming up into the bed of the high water truck. And I had that moment of, is this it? Is this how my story ends? Are we going to hydroplane and be stranded in what should be a road, but is now all river? Is this how it ends? And I'm clutching on to 2 or 3 flea-ridden cats that somebody had to say that he wanted to save their cats with them. And I mean, I would do the same thing for my animals. I would put my animals on the high water truck before myself. So I completely understand that, but I'm holding these cats and they're trying to claw their way up to my head. And it ended up being fine. We got through. I don't know how. I don't know what protecting force was over us, but I was very grateful for it. And that was crazy. And then once the roads kind of opened up a little bit, my more rural pay department called me. We finally had cell reception, and they said, hey, can you come out here for 24 hours? We had somebody that had to go home to take care of their family. I said, okay, cool. At least I'm going to get some money for this. And I go down there, and I'm just seeing power poles snapped in half, like twigs, all the way down. They had the National Guard out with the checkpoint because they didn't want people to just devastation tourism through there. Then they checked my credentials and my ID, and they let me through. And we were staying in a sub-military station, and they had barracks. And I wasn't really a firm believer in ghosts until this, but these barracks were haunted. That was the wildest thing out there. Is we went to bed that night, and I was upset nobody told me that there was no hot water, so I took a cold shower. I was livid. I finally got in a shower, and it was a cold shower. It felt great, but not what I expected. And I'm laying down, and I'm scrolling through my phone, probably playing solitaire. There's no cell reception, or I was reading a book I had downloaded, and the door opens up, and a man in a full Marine Corps uniform, but it wasn't a newer one. It was, a really old Marine Corps uniform, walked in the door, looked at us, closed the door, and then went through the wall. And I woke my partner up because we were bunking together. I was like, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you hear that? She was like, oh, he's been in here every night. It's fine. And they rolled over and went back to sleep.
What?
You can't just drop that casually. You didn't think to warn me that there was a crazy military ghost guy just walking in and out of the room and disappearing through walls?
That's wild. You just dropped a hell of a ghost story in the middle of an EMT story. Well done. 2 of my favorite kind of stories.
That was crazy. Oh, I want to know that guy's story. I want to know who else has seen this guy.
But
why is he haunting this particular sub-base station?
That's wild. I have to say, though, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back with this because I do volunteer as well, but I also I'm very struck by it. And first of all, I'll say thank you. Like you clearly have been sucked into it. Like I drive for the first aid squad, and here's the way this goes all over America. Everybody is, if you are in a town that has a volunteer squad, they need more money. They need more volunteers. It's a culture that's dying out. It just is. Volunteer squads are closing all over the country. I think
we need more people that show up.
You need people to show up. I will never forget. I joined up in 2022, and they were all like, "Oh wow, we got a young guy," and I'm sitting here going, "I'm 42 years old. I've had 2 colonoscopies and a hernia surgery. I am not a young guy." But by the standards of a volunteer first aid department, a 42-year-old who's had a hernia repair is still That's a young buck. Or,
Yeah.
you know, some squads have a culture of high school and college kids that do it, and it's lucky, but then they also go away for school and summers and this and that, blah, blah, blah. But point being, if you are in a town with a volunteer fire service or volunteer first aid service, really, I want to encourage everybody to think about signing up, because A, you're going to get worse service that needs to come from farther away, and it's going to increase your taxes if your volunteer squad goes away. Like you'll pay taxes for an ambulance that has to come from a hospital, which will be further away than the fire station in your town. But also, and I want to be sensitive about this, I don't want to sensationalize this, but I really believe it. It distresses me how many volunteer squads are closing all over the United States, because it's also coming at a time when I think a lot of people feel like the fabric of community in the United States is fraying in a way that's negative and scary, where a lot of the division in the States is pulling us apart. But there is nothing, I can say this so confidently. I have lived a wild life full of so many life experiences I never would have predicted for myself. And I can say with great confidence, nothing makes me believe in the old school promise of America's communities more than volunteering for the first aid squad in my town. Nothing has ever convinced me that there is some shred of truth to the idea that America is a woven together series of small communities that want to take care of each other. You know, that small town picket fence, we look out for our neighbors in this country. We're volunteers who step up. In times of need, we try to help each other. That promise of America that I think a lot of people are losing faith in, nothing has ever made me feel like it's real more than the volunteerism I see with the first aid squad. So when you lose that in your town, you're not just losing a service. You're not just going to pay more taxes. I also think that the death of any volunteer first aid fire squad sort of is also emblematic of something that's not the healthiest as far as our culture. And the more people that volunteer to keep them alive, I think the healthier this country will be. It's one of the most basic grassroots, ground level up ways that communities take care of each other. And I want to thank you for doing it, especially because you said you're going to medic school, that's when it gets really crazy.
I love firefighting, don't get me wrong, but EMS has my heart. EMS is how I met my husband. Every time I've tried to leave and pursue a different career because I get so burnt out, it ends up calling me right back to it. Which I know a lot of the guys at the volunteer department, if they ever hear this, which they probably won't, will give me a lot of shit for it. But I love it. And it's the connection I make with the people in my community. I mean, yes, I'm here to help you, and I want to do everything I can to help you. But it's those little moments of connection that you don't have that anymore in society. You know, I can go to Grandma Betty's house to pick her up because, you know, she pressed her life alert. And while I'm there, you know, she's telling me her life story and giving me tips and tricks of how she's been married for 60 years and, you know, what she's done to keep herself healthy, or look at these pictures of my grandkids. They're about your age now, or it's those little moments. Yeah. And my favorite thing to do, my absolute favorite thing, is public outreach and education. A lot of the guys, and it's crazy because most of the people I work with have kids. And I mean, I don't have kids yet, one day, hopefully. They have kids, but we go to these, you know, elementary schools for our touch a truck events, or to show them our gear, or to tell them the right way to call 911, stop, drop, and roll, all the stuff that we remember growing up with. And they don't know how to talk to kids. And kind of how I got pushed into it. And then I learned to really love it. I mean, that's a public outreach event is why I do what I do now. I was in a Methodist preschool growing up, and the local fire department came out and they showed us their fire trucks and their gear. And then they pulled a hose off the truck and they let me spray water. They singled me out in the crowd of kids and let me spray water. And that was it. That's all it took. I didn't even know what EMS was. I mean, I knew there was ambulances and, they took sick people to the hospital, but I didn't really grasp all the capabilities we have in ambulances until I Googled how to become a firefighter, and it told me to get my EMT first. Mm-hmm. And from the very first EMS call I ever ran, which was a chest pain call, and it ended up being the guy overworked himself in the yard and he had pulled a muscle. So, I mean, it was nothing critical. But from that call onward, I was hooked. And we're going on 8 years now.
I love it. Yeah, I'm on year 4 of volunteer driving. I also have to call out, you're going to chuckle at this. You were saying, and you indicated something that most people didn't hear, but I'm going to pull the curtain back. You said, I like EMS better. The fire guys are going to have grumble about that if they ever hear it. All over America, there's a very funny dichotomy, which is that most volunteer first aid squads exist under the umbrella of the volunteer fire squad in town. Usually the fire squad is the organization and the first aid squad is a division of it. And the fire guys all like to act like they're like the alphas, and they have to do the crazier things, and they do. But the first aid squads get far more calls that place you amongst the community. And and like you said, like these amazing moments of humanity where you sit here and you go like I have gone into a house where a person in their 90s is clearly in the process of passing away, and then you stand there and you're talking with their child who's an adult who's telling you, yeah, there's a DNR, let us grab it, this and that, we just need advice. And you're going, I get to be here for someone during a life moment that's really hard to navigate, and to give them some sense that someone has their back. It's beautiful. Whereas a lot of fire squads are like, we put out fires, that's real deal shit. And it is, but volunteer firefighters who are sitting here rolling your eyes at the volunteer first aid squads, we all know most of your calls are just malfunctioning fire alarms.
Fire alarm.
We all know 80% of your calls these days are some company that outfits a fire alarm, and the fire alarm goes off and the homeowner's not home. So you go and check it, and it's just a 9-volt battery that needs to be switched out. And you're all feeling a little insecure because we go out and talk to everybody in the community while you guys check carbon monoxide detectors that have a faulty AAA battery. And also you put out fires. I'm giving them shit. The firefighters are the best. But that's all over the country. That exists. That little pissing contest.
We love, we'll throw jokes like, oh, do you want me to spray some water so you have something to walk on talking to me? And then I'm like, okay, whatever you say, hose dragger. It's a weird, and then you have PD in the mix too, and we call them blue canaries, which comes from mining. When you bring canaries in, and if they drop dead, oh, we need to get out of here. But it comes from hazmat events. So before we had a standardization where before you drive up to the tractor trailer that's overturned, spilling out some kind of weird substance, PD used to drive straight up to it. And then they would get out of their cars and get into the toxic fumes and drop dead. So we called them blue canaries.
Oh, jeez.
Because if we're rolling up onto an overturned tractor trailer and there's a dead police officer there, we know this is a hazmat incident and we don't need to be down there.
That's dark. That is dark.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's crazy. They have their job. They're trained to run into bullet fire. I'm not. if bullets are ringing, I'm dropping to the ground. You have the vest, you go for it. You have the training. You know how to disarm people. I don't. I can verbally disarm people really well. But if you have a gun pointed at me, I'm probably going to freeze in the moment.
I'll tell you.
I'm not going to lie.
Sometimes the progressive listeners of this show, because I'm a pretty progressive guy politically, I'm a unionist. I'm an artist who lived in New York City for many years. I think my values are in the right place, but sometimes on Beautiful Anonymous, I get honest about my feelings. Sometimes the progressive listeners get mad at me, and I will tell you, driving on the first aid squad is one of the primary reasons that I go, the phrase all cops are bastards, I go, if you want to say that policing in this country was systemically built and has historic ties to racism, and that until we unwrap those historic systemic ties, we as a nation will never fully be a place that fulfills its promise, I will stand on the soapbox right next to you.
Absolutely.
If you want to say that, you know, even as a union, card-carrying union member of 2 unions, if you want to say that police unions sometimes have used their unions to protect police who should probably face criminal charges for abuse, for murder, for absolute unforgivable things that have happened in the streets of this country, I will shout to the hills till the cows come home and try to make sure that message is heard. But when you say all cops are bastards, I go, I have walked into a situation where, you know, you see someone having the absolute scariest day of their life and they've called 911 and there's ambulances on the way, but the people who get there first are cops.
Or the police officers.
And they're the ones, you know, on a mental health call, they're the ones who run in first and tell us if it's safe to even come and try to help a person. Because when you get a mental health call that someone goes, you know, and you've seen them too. I don't care where you live in this country. 2 things are everywhere: opiates and mental health crisis. I don't care how rich your community is.
Yeah.
I don't care how much it's together. You have people in your community. You could live in the most fancy community in the world. There's someone getting Narcan. And there are people who are having mental breakdowns. It's happening everywhere.
And they go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah.
We've developed, where I live, it's called a PORT team, post-overdose response team. And it's mainly run by volunteers. And anytime we have an overdose call come out, and it has to come out as an overdose, they automatically get dispatched. And what I do in the ambulance, you know, if I give them Narcan or not, whether or not they need it, I'll ask them if they don't want to go to the hospital, if they would be interested in talking to one of the volunteers. And we have a little questionnaire they fill out. And when they get out of the ambulance, we hand them off to the volunteer. And I knew what the PORT team was doing was good over the last year, but it wasn't until I took a class to learn more about what they're doing for our community. They're offering free mental health counseling for these addicts. And it's not just opiates. It's all substances, legal, not legal. They're offering counseling and recovery options, free Suboxone, or, you know, any of your treatment options. It's free.
Yeah. And
we've had, in the last year, our overdose call volume has dropped by 80%.
It's beautiful.
It's incredible. And that's all, you know, I mean, not everybody wants treatment. Not everybody wants help right now. But it's amazing what just having somebody to talk to and putting free Narcan out into the community has done. And I live in a red state, and to see, you know, something so progressive and community oriented come out in such a deep red state gives me hope that, you know, we actually want to treat the problem instead of band-aiding it, or just, you know, looking at these addicts like they're the worst of the worst. they're people too.
We're going to go ahead and pause there. I firmly believe it. Addicts are people. People are people. People struggling are people. People at their worst are people. People at their best are people. It's just some of the many lessons that volunteerism reminds you of. Anyway, we've got ads. Thanks so much for listening. We'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by IQBAR, our exclusive snack and hydration sponsor. IQBAR is the better-for-you plant protein-based snack made with brain-boosting nutrients to refuel, nourish, and satisfy hunger without the sugar crash. The ultimate sampler pack. It's a great way to try IQBAR products and flavors. You get 9 IQBARs, 8 IQ Mix Sticks, 4 IQ Joe Sticks. All IQBAR products are entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial sweeteners. All IQBAR products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, adaptogens, and more. The bars are an incredible snack choice. I had one for breakfast this morning. I have them, honestly, most mornings. That's my breakfast. It's an IQ bar. It's a great grab-and-go breakfast. IQ Mix I have pretty much every day. It's a zero-sugar drink mix, hydrates with electrolytes, improves your mood, boosts your clarity. IQ Joe, you will not find a bigger fan of IQ Joe on earth than my wife, Hallie. Jitter-free instant coffee packed with 200 milligrams of natural caffeine. Comes in 4 different flavors. Better than brewed coffee. My wife legitimately loves them. And the flavor combinations are amazing. IQ bars, you got mint chocolate chip, protein bars. The hydration mix, I like the blueberry pomegranate. The toasted hazelnut coffee is a favorite of my wife, and there's always limited edition and seasonal flavors out there as well. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ bars, brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their ultimate sampler pack includes all 3. Like I said, I eat the bars pretty much every day for breakfast. I have IQ Mix every day. It's a great way, especially the summer just ended, and in summer, you get that IQ Mix. You get those electrolytes back. And we're coming up on flu season, everybody. IQ Mix got me through flu season last year. Absolutely. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the sampler pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Text BEAUTIFUL to 64000. That's BEAUTIFUL to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Moms, you do everything for everyone else, and somehow your own wellness always gets bumped to the bottom of the list. That's where Live It Up Super Greens comes in. It's a daily habit that actually works. No hassle, no fuss. Just scoop, mix, and go. Whether you're tackling school drop-off, conference calls, or the laundry mountain, this is one easy win that supports digestion, energy, and immune health in just 30 seconds. Live It Up Super Greens is an all-natural blend of over 20 superfoods formulated with organic vegetables, probiotics, digestive enzymes, and naturally derived ingredients. Just 1 scoop a day can promote gut health, support your immune system, and give you that feel-good energy you can count on. It's designed by nutritionists, third-party tested for purity, and made to be easy on your stomach. No grassy taste, no chalky texture. You mix it in water or milk or put it in a smoothie. Make it a healthy habit you'll look forward to. You'd never believe a green drink tastes so good. If you haven't mixed Super Greens into your routine, Live It Up is a must-add. It tastes so much better than the others, and it's way more affordable. Live It Up Super Greens affords premium quality without the premium price. It's one of the most affordable ways to support your health daily. I'll tell you, I've been using Live It Up lately. It is quick, it is easy, and the thing that jumps out at me the most is, I will tell you, over the years, I kind of learned these green products, all right, they might be good for you, but they don't taste good. Live It Up, they're not lying. Tastes significantly better than the type of stuff you're used to with green products, and man, that really jumps out, and it's healthy, it tastes good, there's no downside. Live It Up is crushing it. It's a small habit, but it has a ripple effect. 96% of people who take Super Greens daily say it helped them increase their daily intake of vegetables and help them feel healthier. And because it's free from sugar, dairy, gluten, and anything artificial, it's something you can feel good about taking every day. Whether you're juggling work, kids, or just trying to feel a little more like yourself, Live It Up Super Greens are a small step that makes a big difference. Live It Up is offering you 15% off your first order, including subscriptions with code BEAUTIFUL. Plus, shipping's always free. Head to letsliveitup.com/beautiful and use code BEAUTIFUL for 15% off your first Super Greens order. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Thanks to all of our advertisers. Now let's finish off the phone call.
They're people too.
And they're people you don't always expect. Sometimes they fit the image of what you've seen on TV, and sometimes you will find out that the person with the multi-million-dollar estate feels so much pressure at work that they take uppers during the day and then they fall into downers at night to try to just sleep.
Yeah.
And then that turns into literal. There's millionaires who are addicted to heroin right now, and it gets out of control, and they think they can control it because they've got money. They can't. Point being, I love everything you're saying. And so many of these issues, I go, all cops are not bastards. The ones who are bastards, I think, deserve.
I almost married one.
I would say the cops who are bastards are a particular type of bastard that I have no room in my heart for. I think being a cop who is a bastard is an unforgivable betrayal of the public's trust, of people's trust. The cop that runs into a mental health call and goes, I'm going to make sure the person puts the knife down before the EMTs come in to help transport them, the person's not a bastard. Like you're saying, red state, blue state. So many of these issues. The union leader, Chris Smalls from Amazon, has that quote. He's like, it's not red state versus blue state. These are not our issues anymore. It's working people and real people versus people who don't want the status quo to change because of profit. There's so many issues in our lives right now that we are convinced are red state, blue state. There's so many issues and they're not. They're human. They're human issues. They're human issues. They are. How do we stop kids from getting killed in schools? How do we stop people living lives of such desperation, of hopelessness that they turn to drugs? And there are certain drugs like fentanyl being the one in recent years everyone's heard of that are just decimating people. How do we stop the pressure and isolation and loneliness that people feel from turning into people being mentally broken to a degree where their lives slip away from them? This happens red, blue, poor, rich, black,
it's a humanity
white,
issue.
Citizen, non-citizen, humanity. You're totally right. And I don't know about you, but I'm like, I started volunteering largely because I was bored during the pandemic, and it has absolutely changed my life, has absolutely changed the ways I feel compassion and empathy for others. And I do want to make sure before we run out of time. So sometimes I meet people and they know I drive for the ambulance, and they'll introduce me to someone. Oh, Chris is an EMT. I go, I'm not an EMT. I drive. Like, all respect to EMTs. They've gone to school. I don't have time for the school. It's too much. I got a kid. I can't do all that school. And then the EMTs, there's a little division. Well, the volunteers versus the paid. The paid people see more and do more, and there's that respective ladder. But you're going to school to become a paramedic. And a lot of people, when they hear I drive for the ambulance, they go, oh, Chris is an EMT. And in their mind, they're going, that means all this equipment, and you're the guy who can put a hole in someone's throat to help them breathe. And it's like, no, that's paramedic shit. The paramedics are the ones. What's the type of leveling up you're doing as you enter paramedic stuff? Because that's where it gets really gnarly. And as someone who's been in this world for 8 years, what are you going to do to not become a classically cliche, very grumpy paramedic? Because they're all so grumpy.
I have been struggling for years to not be grumpy. I try to start every shift like it's my very first day. Every shift.
Smart.
Every call, I start it like it's my first call of the day. About 3 o'clock in the morning me versus 3 o'clock in the afternoon me are a bit different. I have a little less patience, but I do my best to pull on the reserves for people. It also helps. I love training the new guys. So when the new guys come in full of life and they're not jaded and this is their first day ever, they're pulling a clinical shift, or it's their first time. We just hired them straight out of school. They're nervous. They don't know what to expect. Seeing that in them revitalizes me. And I don't want to be the preceptor that I had. The preceptor that was grumpy and was just, you're my luggage monkey. You can carry all the stuff. You're to be seen and not heard. You'll figure it out. I don't want to be that person. So I'm an EMT basic. There's technically 4 levels. You have emergency medical responder, which is closer to what you are, where I live. And they can do CPR, they can drive an ambulance, and they can give oxygen and check a blood sugar and some vitals. That's about it. Mm-hmm. And then the next step up from that is what I am. I can do all the vital signs. I could put people on a monitor to do an EKG, but I can't interpret the EKG. I could do CPAP or BiPAP, which if anybody has sleep apnea, they're familiar with what that looks like. I can put in a blind insertion advanced airway, which is similar to intubation, but instead of going directly instead of it being endotracheal, it just goes in the whole throat, and there's a little port where it pushes oxygen into the lungs. I could do CPR, of course, and I could give a small handful of medications, Benadryl, Epi, Narcan, Tylenol, nitroglycerin. Like, there's a couple medications I can give at my level, but becoming a paramedic, that means I'm now responsible for all of the cardiac arrest drugs. So we have amiodarone and Epi. Every CPR movie, push one of Epi. That's what I'll be doing. We have antiarrhythmics. We have medications that speed up the heart when it's beating too slow. I can pace people. I can shock people. If somebody is in VTAC and they have a pulse or SVT, I can do what's called synchronized cardioversion. Hopefully I'll have enough time to give you some Valium beforehand so you're a little relaxed, but we will shock conscious people to get them out of this lethal arrhythmia, because if we don't do anything, it will kill you. Mm-hmm. I have access to all the benzos and narcotics for the people in pain or who might be having a psychiatric issue or having seizures. We have an antipsychotic that we carry called Haldol. So somebody who might be suffering from schizophrenia, who's running around, naked, not that I've ever seen people having a psychiatric episode running around naked to the street. We can give that to them if we can't talk them down, to help relieve that psychosis. And when we give that medication, it's not like in the movies where you give it and 3 seconds later they're, on the ground. We're talking anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes of them still running around and us trying to talk them down before the medication kicks in. None of this is instantaneous, especially if we don't have an IV started. IV medications are a lot faster than anything going into the muscle or, taking something orally. And it's a lot of science. It's a lot of understanding anatomy and pathophysiology and pharmacology, understanding how medications interact not only in the body, but with each other. And I'm so thankful that my husband's not only a paramedic, but he's an RN. He's been phenomenal at helping teach me this. I'm also able to interpret EKGs to find out if you're having a heart attack or, there's things, if you have too much potassium, it'll show up on this. And I can give you medications to help reverse that. It's a lot. They
so
call
cool.
us Doc in the Box.
It's cool. And are you going to switch from the ambulance to driving one of those tricked out SUVs full of all that junk?
Potentially. I have an interview on Tuesday with the county that I work in, because most of the EMS is fire EMS combined, but the county also has EMS only, and they supply trucks to individual stations, but they also have QRV paramedics. And if I get the job when I become a paramedic, I can actually be on a QRV solo as a fly car helping respond, and
Whoa.
which is crazy to think that within a year I could be alone.
And now it's funny because you and I mean, I get so nerdy about this stuff. I have passion for it. We've talked for 53 minutes about it. And then with 7 minutes left, my guess, because you're a badass, and I don't know if you will take that compliment, but everyone listening is like, yeah, this caller's a badass. But like when you're at the pharmacy or the supermarket, would anybody walking past you even perceive you as a badass? My guess is no. That's how it works.
Probably not. I mean, unless I'm shopping at the store on the way back from work. You know, I try to keep work and home separate. You know, I don't wear my department T-shirts out. I love collecting department T-shirts from all over the world. Anytime I go on vacation, I bring a home shirt and I swap it out with whatever fire department I'm staying in, like whatever's local, and I swap T-shirts. And my hope is to make a quilt with every department I've ever worked at, every department my husband's ever worked at, and then every state department I've ever visited, or even other countries, and just have this massive quilt out of T-shirts from fire departments.
That's awesome. So what's life like when you're not in the thick of it, on fire trucks, on ambulances, at medic school? What's life like the rest of the time?
Lately, it's been a lot of sleeping, but if I have time, I love to take my dogs out on hikes and walks. I love to play video games, read. Oh my goodness, I love reading. And it doesn't matter if it's, you know, smut books or historical fiction or even autobiographies. If it's a book, and it's in front of me, I'm going to sit down and read it.
I love that.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from being an only child, with a single mother and being homeschooled. A lot of it comes from that. And then having family that really encouraged reading growing up. If I can give my future children anything, it's going to be a love for reading.
And you said you met your husband through your volunteer/professional efforts.
Yes. So a year before COVID, I got a full-time job at one of two hospital-based EMS systems in my state. And I started off doing transport, which, as much shit as it gets, I learned so much taking people from the hospital to nursing homes or from one hospital to the other, just reading their charts and understanding the medications that they're on and why they're on them and how different diseases progress through the body. That was phenomenal knowledge. But after, right at the peak of COVID, I transferred from day shift to night shift. My husband was working on the ALS critical care transport truck. And because I had a whopping year and a half of 911 and transport EMS experience, they decided I had enough experience to be on a critical care transport truck. And my husband and I, you know, we spent 36 hours a week, every week together, and became instant best friends. I was engaged to a police officer at the time. You know, I thought I was going to get married to him. And of course that relationship fizzled out. Nothing against him, no hard feelings. We just weren't right for each other. And about 3.5 years ago, you know, we used to go out like, hey, I'm lonely. Do you want to go to the movies with me? 3.5, 4 years ago, it was, hey, we're basically dating already. Let's just call it official. And something my family doesn't know is we actually got married at the courthouse on 4/4/24. But we had what everybody thinks is our real wedding on May the 4th of this year.
Why did you do it that way?
My family is very traditional. You don't move in before you get married. You stay engaged for a minimum of a year, if not 2 years, before you get married. And his mother's not the problem. It's his sister. His sister's a bit extra, and she doesn't like me. His sister is taking advantage of his mother financially, and she was taking advantage of my husband financially. And I pointed it out, and he started standing up for himself and for his mother. And of course she didn't like me because, I pointed it out, and she didn't have a cash cow anymore. So there was a lot of drama there. And
this
they ended
could have
up
been the
not
whole
making
hour. This clearly could have been the
Yeah,
whole phone
yeah.
call if it went in a different direction.
Yeah. But they ended up not making it to our wedding. But
Oh, no.
that was, yeah. And what's crazy is I lost my mother when I was 2 weeks after my 15th birthday to cancer. And he lost his dad a year before we started dating to complications of CHF, which is congestive heart failure. So we always joke that between the two of us, we have one parental unit, even though my dad is hanging out in Florida and finally sober after 5 years of meth. And he wasn't really in my life, but is in my life now. So we always joke that we have one parental unit between the two of us.
It's you just described like an amount of chaos that I think is really...
Yeah, that is my life.
Yeah, that's really... But I also say to her, I go, it sort of makes sense to me that you've now dedicated your life to going like, I'm going to be part of the social safety net, helping others.
I strive to be the person that I needed when I was younger. Because, we could have talked an hour about all of my backstory, because I'm a recovering addict, and a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that I went that hardcore in high school because I was grieving and angry. And my family doesn't even know it, which is crazy. But it's a part of who I am. It's a part of the reason I am the way that I am.
Well, we'll have to do, very clearly we have to do a follow-up call someday and get to hear
Absolutely
all of these stories. And then our time today has run out. We are going to, if you're down to hang out a little more, we'll go behind the paywall. If anybody wants to hear more with this caller,
Absolutely.
beautifulanonymous.com. You can sign up right now. Caller, thank you so much.
Pay for the extra is worth it. Do it.
Thank you so much. That's so nice. Caller, thank you. Sincerely, thank you for the stories, for the openness, and obviously for everything you do to help the world around you. For anybody who is signed up for beautifulanonymous.com, buckle up. It's a great one. If you're not, it's a great week to join up, because the caller tells us a whole bunch about her backstory that you're going to want to hear. And I was blown away by that call. Thank you, caller. Thank you to Andrea Quinn for producing the show. Thank you to Shell Shag for our theme music. punchup.live/Chris Gethard for my live tour dates. The voicemail's 973-306-4676. The Instagram is Beautiful Anonymous Pod. Don't forget to join the Facebook group, and please tell people we exist. This week on Beautiful Anonymous Plus, here's some of what you'll get from the 5 questions.
Cleaning up after a bad call is the perfect way to compartmentalize until your shift is over, or until you could talk to a crisis counselor about what happened. Is that very methodical wiping everything down with the Tavicide, or hosing out the back of the truck, heaven forbid, and doing another rig check to make sure, like, okay, I knew we used 3 IVs and 4 start packs and this and that, but what else am I missing?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that for me is how I get my zen and I process everything.
Don't forget to sign up for Beautiful Anonymous Plus at beautifulanonymous.com.